Hi, my name is Jen Potter, and I'm the host of Networking Now. Today, I am joined by Deanna Russo. She is an amazing business owner and a LinkedIn expert. I have had the pleasure of knowing her for several years now, and every time I talk to her, I get super excited because I just love our conversations and all of the different things that we talk about. So, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Jen.
Absolutely. So I want to just jump right in and just start to talk about all of the things that you do. So it's not just one thing. So if you want to tell everybody what you do, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about, the different things that you do on LinkedIn.
You got it. So, my LinkedIn journey started in 2008. That's when I first got on the platform. But for about 10 years, I treated it like an online resume. It was just a place to put all of the work experience, and maybe a few times a year I would go on it. I did nothing with it until 2018. That was when everything changed because I was in a sales job and that company wanted me to use LinkedIn to bring in new business. For them, it meant copying and pasting a script into a cold call message, otherwise known as "you don't know me, you don't like me, but come sign over business to me." And I did it for a while. And then I got a light bulb moment that basically was like, why would they? Why? I put myself into the other people's shoes and said, why would they spend the money with me if they didn't know who I was? And so I changed the way that I thought about LinkedIn. I changed my whole strategy and I spent more time putting emphasis and effort into my profile, figured out what I needed to say in each and every part. I went into the comment section on LinkedIn and I started having conversations. And I built the trust part of the know, like, and trust through my content. And so that began my triangle, and it helped me grow on LinkedIn from 400 to 11,000 in 18 months. Now I just got past 30,000 followers on LinkedIn, and I teach people how to do it. I teach people the triangle strategy.
Which is so amazing because, I was going to ask you at the beginning, when you do those cold calls, how many people do you actually get that are like, you know what, I don't know you. I think I'm going to go with what you got. You probably
It
didn't get many, right?
doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And it didn't happen for me back then. So I'm like, I just have to change the way that I was doing this. And I'm so happy I did.
And when we met at a networking event in Texas, and you completely, just the conversations that we had completely changed my outlook when it comes to LinkedIn. I think we met in, was it 2002 maybe?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So
2022, 2022.
correct. Yep. And your enthusiasm for the platform really made me say, oh, I can actually get business out of this. There's actually something else that I can actually obtain from this. And you were like, yeah, that's how I get all my business. This is how I make all my connections. And, because we met via networking, but the amount of people that I have met through LinkedIn that have become friends are absolutely incredible. And it started with you telling me to change the outlook of, or the platform outlook, when people log in to see my account, right? Because it was just plain, there was nothing there. Like you said, it was a resume. The fact that LinkedIn has been around since 2008, if not before then,
Yeah,
is
it was
absolutely,
2003. Yep.
yeah, which is insane because
Yep.
it's the same thing. Like, you literally go on, you put your resume on it, and that's all you did, right?
Right.
And then it wasn't till you showed me your page and you said, look, this is what I'm doing. And it was so simple. And I'm like, oh, if I change some of the words up at the top and I actually explain what I'm doing, like, and then even just like certain sections, I'm like, I can put all these things there. So
Mhm.
now it's like when you log onto my LinkedIn, it's more than just that. It's like, hey, look at, this is who I am. These are all my connections and things that I'm doing. And you interact. And I will be honest, like the last few months, like I haven't utilized it as much, and I've noticed a difference. I've noticed a huge difference that I haven't been able to like really get into it. So you went from 2018 to now, so just over 6 years roughly, right, where you had, a handful of followers to over 30,000 followers, and one of the things that, you do is you also, teach classes about this, correct?
Yeah.
And and what do those classes entail when you're teaching different things about LinkedIn?
Basically, when people invite me to speak, I'm telling them what the triangle strategy looks like, but I'm introducing the topic as a big networking event. If we just looked at LinkedIn as a big networking event and we change the way that we view the platform, then our whole perspective on it changes. So you don't go to a networking event with a grouchy look on your face. Regardless of what's happening, before you walk into that event, you're ready. You put the smile on, you put your best face on, and you walk in because those people are strangers to you and you know you want to make the best first impression. That's your LinkedIn profile. And then once you're at the event, you're not going to a corner and sitting by yourself. If you do, you're going to miss on the whole opportunity of a networking event. You're walking up to people to shake hands. That's commenting. You're going to comment on people's content because that's you shaking hands, and they cannot like you if they don't see you and if you're not visible to them. No one walks into a networking event, Jen, I have yet to see it with a, or
Thumbs up.
it doesn't happen. People talk to each other.
Right.
And then,
I never thought about that though, and it wasn't until, you've mentioned that to me before, but, like, it's true. When we walk in, "Hey, my name's Jen. So nice to meet you." And you shake other people's hands, or, more people do the whole fist bump thing, which I think is funny when you go into a networking event.
yeah,
But, we're evolving. But, with that being said, I never thought that that whole commenting piece was that parallel,
yep,
because even though you've kinda said it to me before, but just the way that you just said it just now, it was like a light bulb just went off in my head.
yep, yep. And then
That
the third piece, when you're at that networking event and you're having the conversations, if you do not act enthusiastic about what you do, if you don't tell them, I just signed a client to this, or I just did this, or here's my new book that's coming out, if they don't see that enthusiasm from you, then they're just going to look at it as another conversation. And that I really will not remember that. And that's where the trust factor comes in. They will trust you when they get to know how your business works. And that's where the content comes in on LinkedIn. They can only trust you if they see that you are worth their trust. And that's what you can get from creating content on LinkedIn.
that's actually really interesting, right? Because when you go into a networking event and you're chatting with people, I tell clients all the time, the thing that sells us is us, right?
Yeah.
We are our business. It doesn't matter what we're selling. And you know this, right? You worked for another company at the time when you were doing the cold calls. So we're representing that business, and we are the business that we're representing, whether we own it or we're working within that business. And a lot of people don't typically buy things because they either don't need it or they weren't convinced that they need it, right? And we are that differentiating factor. Like, it's us.
Yeah.
And so if I meet you online and you're like blow me away and you're setting all these cool comments and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, Deanna seems so awesome." And then I log onto her LinkedIn profile and there's nothing there. I'm like, "Does she even exist?"
Right.
Right?
Right. There's more questions than answers. So that's why when I'm working with people on their LinkedIn, the first thing we do is look at that profile. And we look at each and every piece of that profile in order to make sure that you are representing you and your business in the best way. Because otherwise, there are more questions than answers.
I really love that. And now that, like, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, "Oh, I probably should revamp my LinkedIn." Because, like, I try to update it as often as possible, but, like, I'm like, "Crap, Deanna's gonna look at my LinkedIn profile, and she's gonna be like, 'We could probably change these few things.'" But at the same time, I'm like, "Ooh, I can't wait to have a conversation and ask you, like, what we can change."
Yeah.
Because I we want to always, show who we are, and we are constantly changing, as ourselves and as our businesses. We're not staying stagnant. So, for someone who has a LinkedIn profile, how often would you suggest that they update it?
As much as you need to. It should evolve. See all these books behind me? LinkedIn
Mhm.
is not a book. You don't set it and forget it. It doesn't go to print and it just stays there. No, this is something that should constantly evolve. Now, that being said, you don't need to go in every single day and change something on your profile. But if it's sitting there for months and months on end and you don't have updates of the new book that's coming out or this event that's coming up or anything like that, then you're
Right.
missing an opportunity.
I really like that. And now that I have a book coming out, I probably should put that in my LinkedIn profile.
Uh-huh.
Um, right? Because it's those things that we are like, oh, we're doing this, and we might post about it, so it'll be there on a post, but the post will eventually go away. And yes, you can see it when you go to the profile that this was some of the posts that you did, but I think having the content there that reflects where you are, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
Like I said, there are things that I don't necessarily think about, and so I know when people are putting, I'm going to ask you some of these topical questions because in the next few segments we're going to get like deep dive into it. But
Yeah.
if if I have a profile picture up on LinkedIn, what is your suggestion for profile pictures? Because I see an eclectic version of profile pictures, but pictures that you would suggest like are good for LinkedIn profiles. Selfies?
A good head and shoulder shot. Because if you have a full body picture of yourself as a profile, then people are not going to see your face. And for a really good first impression, they need to see your smile. They need to see how enthusiastic and happy you are. And you can only see that in that small circle. But keep in mind, the majority of the people that are on LinkedIn now are on using their phones. So the LinkedIn mobile app does not allow a huge profile picture. And so that's why I always say head and shoulders above all else. And definitely look at the camera and smile. It does not have to be a professional picture. It doesn't. I love professional headshots. Don't get me wrong. I have photographer friends that will be like, oh, don't. But if you don't have $250 or more to spend on a good headshot, you can just have somebody else take the picture, and it's just as good.
But making sure that we have a good smile, really good eye contact,
Yeah.
and because that's your initial like sales shot, right? They're like, "Oh, this looks like a person that I could trust." Because
Yes.
when you have the blurry pictures or they're looking off to the side, my
Right.
favorite are when you see like these side
Yeah.
profiles, and then
Yeah.
you get in front of the person, you're like, "Whoa, I didn't even know that was the same person." And not that's a bad thing, but you instantly, for me, I have a photographic memory, so it's like this instant connection. So
Yeah.
pictures are super important to me. The banner up at the top I feel like is underutilized, but sometimes overutilized.
Yeah.
If you were to tell us before we cut to the next segment, what is one suggestion that you would make with the banner?
The banner should not be the 3 shades of gray template that LinkedIn gives you. You should choose the real estate. That being said, use the real estate, but keep in mind again what I said before. This device, a lot of people are on their phones.
Yep.
So if I cannot read the text that you have on your banner on the LinkedIn mobile app, you're going to lose me. So you don't want to put everything up on there, but you want to make sure that the text is big enough that you can see it. So I always tell people check your banner on the desktop and the mobile app.
I love that so much. And so when we get to our next segments, we're going to deep dive a little bit into that triangle that you are teaching everyone and how amazing it is. I was lucky enough that, I got to edit something that you were working on. So I know what you're going to be talking about. So it's really amazing of all of the information and the wealth of information that you have in that brain of yours, because it has proven to be extremely successful and you have worked with some really amazing people to get them to be more successful. So I want to thank you so much for being with us today. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about all of those amazing things that you're working on in LinkedIn. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Jen.
You're welcome.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you. Call 800 749 7781. That's 800 749 7781. Call now.
Llama a tu amigo Trip Amigo. Una llamada a Trip Amigo te consigue el billete más barato a cualquier destino. Solo dinos a dónde quieres ir y Trip Amigo busca entre cientos de miles de ofertas disponibles en billetes aéreos y hospedaje también. Nuestros clientes ahorran hasta el 75% en las tarifas aéreas y reservaciones de hoteles. Llama ahora mismo. Tu amigo Trip Amigo te consigue los mejores precios de billetes aéreos y hotel.
Welcome back. I'm Jen Potter, the host of Networking Now, and I am joined with Deanna Russo. She is a LinkedIn strategist and owner of Leverage Up. She knows all of the things LinkedIn, and she is a complete expert when it comes to making sure that we are maximizing your visibility and networking strategy on LinkedIn. So thank you again so much for being here with us today.
Thanks, Jen.
Absolutely. So we were talking about the triangle strategy. So if you want to jump back in and continue talking about exactly what that is and how we can maximize our profile in networking on LinkedIn.
Sure. So the very first part of the triangle strategy is your profile. And that is where you generate the know factor of the know, like, and trust. And then once your profile is optimized, your work is not done. Unfortunately, it's not done. Next is to get that billboard in front of the masses. And what I mean by that is your LinkedIn profile is that billboard along the side of a highway. If that highway doesn't have traffic driving by that billboard, it may look really good, but what's the point of even putting all the work into it if you're not being seen? And so the next two pieces of the triangle is where visibility really comes in. And so we generate the like and the know, like, and trust in the comments, in the engagement, in the conversations that you're having on LinkedIn. And I'll go back to the networking event metaphor. If you walk into a networking event and immediately go to the corner and not communicate with everybody, yes, you check the box that you're at the networking event, but is it doing any good for you? Not really. So the really big part of LinkedIn, that the reason why the triangle strategy exists is really to generate the conversations and know you can know people through the profile, but if you aren't having conversations that get you in front of the people you want to have conversations with, who you want to be more visible to, then there's no point. So I encourage people, rather than scrolling by things on LinkedIn, or rather than just reacting to something. I mean, I'll go back to that networking event. Do you walk into a networking event and give a thumbs up or a heart emoji or a clapping? Probably not. You
Right.
actually talk to people. So that's what it's all about. Have conversations in the comments and people will get to like you.
I really like that. And so when we're having conversations, it's I would like to assume that it's organic, so it becomes a little bit more natural. What about the people that we want to be in front of, and we don't typically, they don't pop up on our social media or on a LinkedIn profile, and we want to be more engaged with those particular people? How do we just go and look at their recent posts and comment on those posts just so they can see more of our information and also get in front of them?
I appreciate you asking that. So one of the things that I work with my clients is strategic engagement. And what I mean by that is if you walk into that networking event and you see all of those people talking, imagine that there are signs hanging over the conversations telling you what everybody's talking about. In real life, it doesn't happen, but honestly, I would love to go to a networking event where there's signs hanging all over the place.
Me
But
too.
on LinkedIn, it can. So I teach my clients these are the circles, these are the areas that you need to be spending more time in to have those conversations. And so we teach the strategic engagement. Basically, you have to go back to the questions that start off when you're looking to start on LinkedIn and the foundation pieces of LinkedIn. Ask yourself, why am I here? Who am I looking to start conversations with? Who do I want to work with if you're a business owner? It all goes back to knowing who you want to, so that you're not wasting your time and you know exactly why you're there and who you want to talk with. But yeah, I teach my clients that type of thing so that they're not just searching and just blindly going into this. They actually know this is where I want to hang out. This is where I want to have conversations.
I really like that. And I remember, so because I'm still trying to get back into being more attentive to LinkedIn and being more engaged. And I got turned off for a little bit when there really started being a little bit more of that AI and robot feature and messaging messenger. It really turned me off for a little bit. And then I noticed it started to subside. But there was a notification type of thing that exists if there was someone that we wanted to talk to. Does that still exist? And if it does, is that something that you would suggest?
Sometimes you'll see notifications like that on LinkedIn that this person posted and we thought that you'd like to comment. You could check it out. That doesn't necessarily mean that you need to take it for Bible, that you have to contribute to it, but follow those suggestions very tentatively to just to see if they are on the right path. So I always say caution when it comes to that.
Good. That's it. That's really good to know. And then because I feel like we can get stuck down a rabbit hole, I mean, myself included, I have ADHD. So like it's so easy for me to just like become hyper focused and get lost in conversation. Are there any suggestions that you would have for someone like myself that, really wants to just engage with, my audience, but not get stuck almost like spiraling out and being on it for too long and wasting time?
Well, keep in mind this, the algorithm for LinkedIn will show you the people that you know you want to see and the content that you want to see. So once you are like, if for example, you wanted to comment on X, Y, and Z, and you know that you needed to do that, you're going to have to go to those conversations at first. And then the algorithm is going to be trained because once you keep showing up and you keep commenting on that particular person's content or that topic, then the algorithm will be trained to say she wants to see this. So it takes a little bit of work to train the algorithm before you can actually just before it will just pop up in there and you'll be able to see it.
That makes sense. And so just like kind of getting yourself into that habit of you looking for what it is that you're particularly looking for. Now, going back to walking into a room and getting to know all of these people, I think we touched upon it briefly. It might have been in one of our personal conversations, but LinkedIn groups. I still have a really hard time trying to understand LinkedIn groups and being efficient with making connections in there. Do you have any suggestions about that?
Well, when it comes to LinkedIn groups, the best advice I have is to test. And what I mean by that is if you go to a group and you join a group and then you are not seeing the conversations worthy of your time because it's very important, your time is very important, then leave the group and see if you can find something else. It's not worthwhile going back and forth to try and find the conversations when there aren't any. So that's why I'm like, don't spend a lot of time in groups that aren't worthwhile. See if you can find groups where it is worthy of your time.
Which makes sense because if you just log, I guess subscribe to all of these groups, then it's going to fill up your feed with things that you don't want to have for information. So it's almost
Right.
like now you have to kind of filter through all of it instead of having things that are more important.
Yeah, you have to just spend the time where it makes the most sense. And if there is a group that you're finding the conversations, that's where I would much rather you spend your time rather than one where there's nothing happening. Just leave.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And I feel like for me particularly, because I'm like, oh, there's a group in regards to X, Y, and Z, and then I subscribe to like all 10 of them, and it's almost like it's overwhelming. So I like the idea of even going in, subscribing to one, check it out. If I don't like it, subscribe to another, because again, my ADHD brain is like, I want to do all the things, and I just don't feel like it's efficient for me. And I
Yeah.
mean, other people have to feel the same way, whether or not they have ADHD, that it can be overwhelming and it could be intimidating.
Hmm.
So, going back to the strategy and its simplicity, if if it's still overwhelming to a lot of people, if you were to say, if there were, three things that you really want people to focus on, and I know we've definitely talked about them already, but if you were to say these are the three things that you would focus on for success, what would you suggest that they are?
It would go back to that triangle. Get to know people through your profile, optimize your profile, make sure that each part of your profile speaks to why you're there and who your audience is, and then look for the conversations and start having conversations in the comments so that people can get to like you. And then that third piece is really trust. And 5% of the people who are on LinkedIn, 5% of the 1 billion people on LinkedIn are currently creating content. And so LinkedIn is going to showcase the people who are creating content as opposed to the people that aren't. And so if you currently are not doing content on LinkedIn, I recommend you give it a shot because it's an untapped territory still. Even after I've been creating content now for 6 years, still it's an untapped territory for a lot of people who want to earn the trust of their network, and you can really do that through content.
I love that. And because like I feel like that's something that I lack on as well. And also making sure that I'm creating relative content. And so this is my main focus. I mean, selfishly, I'm like, ooh, what are all the tips and tricks? So I think it's really important, right? To figure out, what it is that we're creating. And I know every platform is so completely different. Every market of social media is so completely different. But when we're focusing on LinkedIn, would you suggest that, the same thing that we post on Instagram and Facebook is the same thing that we post on LinkedIn?
It's a different algorithm. It is a totally different algorithm. A lot of people do the copy and paste and just spray and pray on all of the social media. And I caution people on that because while it may be a good post for Instagram or it may be a good post for TikTok, is it going to do what you want to do on LinkedIn? Is it going to get the people's attention? It's a case by case basis. So it's really, you really have to focus in on what is going to generate the most visibility for me on LinkedIn, as opposed to just, well, I did this on Instagram, so let's see. You can take a piece of it and then um, customize it for LinkedIn. That's what I recommend you do.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. And so, I mean, you gave us so many different ways to strategize to become more efficient on LinkedIn. And every time I talk to you, and I say this and I mean this sincerely, you are probably one of the smartest women that I know and have so much information inside of you. And I know it because I've gotten to know you personally. I've gotten to read something. You're being published, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? How do people get a copy of what that is that you're working on?
The book is the Complete Small Business Guidebook, and it's a collaborative book. And I'm contributing a chapter in that book, and it comes out at the end of October 2024. So
Yay, that's
all over.
exciting.
Yep, coming up very soon.
I can't wait to find it on social media so I can go and purchase my copy because, I love everything that you're doing and everything that you're working on. And I highly encourage anyone who wants to take that next step to reach out to you, to have a conversation with you. I think having a conversation with you about how they can explore how to get even deeper into this and to really maximize their business, I think they would be silly not to. If you can tell everyone how they can get a hold of you, all your contact information and all that.
Yep. So you can search Deanna Russo on LinkedIn, and chances are I will be one of the first people that pops up in the search. Very, very lucky that all of my hard work on LinkedIn has now offered me that possibility and that opportunity. Deanna at leverageupllc.com is my email, and my company website is leverageupllc.com. You can read testimonials, you can check out podcasts I've been on, and you can see my services. I work one-on-one with my clients. I work with teams in order to get them all on the same page when it comes to LinkedIn. And yeah, it's just been really fantastic because I've been able to take my experience and then help other people, teach other people how to do this. And it's not rocket science. It's not as awesome as rocket science is. This can be very easy. It's really not. It's not complicated.
Well, thank you. And thank you for making it simple. Thank you for really explaining it to us so we can truly understand it. And, like I said, check her out on LinkedIn. Make sure you just put her name right in, Deanna Russo. It does pop right up. She is an expert when it comes to all things LinkedIn. And thank you so much for joining us today. And I can't wait to talk to you again in the future. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much.
Jen.
You're welcome.
Taking a trip in the next 12 months? Airlines are under tremendous pressure and they're practically giving away their unsold seats. Like every crisis, this one will end too. But right now is the best time to take advantage of giveaway ticket prices on their unsold seats. We're not allowed to publish these low fares online. The only way to get these rock bottom giveaway prices is to call. So phone low-cost airlines now for airline ticket prices you may never see again. What if you could make a free phone call and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Right now, you could be paying as high as 20% interest. Your new interest rate could be reduced to as low as 2.48%. You can refinance any existing car loan or leased car and save money every month. Take 5 minutes of your time right now. Make this free phone call and learn how to save hundreds of dollars a year by refinancing your existing car loan.
Welcome back to Networking Now. I am your host, Jen Potter, and I am joined today with Tamika Jones. She is a transformational life coach, and she is absolutely incredible. She runs several businesses. She's been in the Air Force, and she does all of the things. I'm so excited to have her on today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Jen. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yes, I am so excited. And we were talking prior to the show about all of the amazing things that she does, but we have a lot of similarities. And I'm sure our backgrounds and how we got to where we are so completely different. I would love for you to just jump in and start telling everybody how you got to become a transformational life coach.
Oh, the journey started probably at birth. My mom birthed me, probably, um, but yeah, my journey started right when I exited the military. I recently retired. Let me go back a little bit. So I served 23 years in the United States Air Force, um, basically trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. Before I joined, I was working at a clothing store in Krispy Kreme, and I knew that was not the life for me. I just totally done, smelling like donuts every day. So I ended up joining. I ended up joining the Air Force, and I came in as a logistics troop. So ordered parts for aircrafts is what I did. Got bored with that and retrained again into personnel, which is human resources. Got bored with that and became a nurse. So I retired as a nurse in the United States Air Force. And after retirement, I had the opportunity to do an internship with a nonprofit organization. And the organization is Grace After Fire. And that organization basically is a nonprofit, and they help women veterans transition from the military to society. And I met the CEO during lunch one day. She invited me to lunch, and we were sitting down talking. And she asked the question. She said, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Holy cow, I don't know." And tears start to flow down my face. And I was just like, "I don't know." After 23 years in the military, that's all I knew, right? I, I was a soldier. I had no identity, actually, no identity. I belonged to the government and I did as I was told. And, so I didn't know who I was in the military. And before then, as a young woman, I definitely didn't know who I was. Um, a lot of childhood trauma, and then just didn't know how to love because I never knew what love was. So all of that combined with, the military, not knowing who I was, I decided to take a hiatus and go on this self-love journey. So after that, meeting with her, that's definitely when I started to peel back the layers to define and find out who is Tamika is to her core. Who am I to the core? What are my values? What do I love? What don't I love? What will I accept? Setting and healthy boundaries in my life with my friends and family, just all the things is what started the self-love journey.
Oh, I love that. And you hit me like right there, like, listening to you talk, because we do have so many parallels. I won't go into detail with any of it, but my book title is The Journey to Self-Love. So it's fine. And so like one of the first of several books that I'm publishing actually have that as the title. So it like really hit me, because that's how we transform, right? Like, and I think we get to this point in our lives. Like, I knew when I hit my 40s, I felt like a lot of things in my life changed. And it wasn't the asking the question. It was, someone didn't ask me. I asked myself that question, and I'm like, who am I, and where do I want to be, and what do I want to do? And I'm like,
Mm,
get this far? How did I get this far? Not realizing like where I want to actually go. So like, it's beautiful when we start to find that within ourselves, right? And
right.
so you started this journey of really trying to find yourself and who you are, and because of this beautiful person that you sat with, it seems like that was part of what started to change your journey. And so now that once you started to do that, you own several businesses. So what was the next step like after you started to find this, because you have a
Yeah.
power company?
Yes, I do. So, and really quick, I wanted to go back to the whole self-love, right? And like you said, you and I both have some similarity. And
Mhm.
growing up, I didn't experience love, right? My dad was never in the picture. So, and with the young girl, that's the person she falls in love with. The dad sets that example, right?
Right.
So if you don't know what that looks like, you go a lifetime trying to figure it out until you figure it out, right? My mom was on drugs, alcohol first, and resorted to drugs. So I, didn't understand why, right? The whys, and just, not having a mother or a father was painful. But got through it, and I'm here. So, but yeah, you asked the question of after that transition or that journey. Um, where did I go from there? So I started out in apparel. I was in my closet one day and I was looking for a t-shirt. And anybody knows me knows that I'm the t-shirt queen. I have t-shirts, so many t-shirts in my closet. So the word flawless hit me. And I'm like, flawless? Okay, I'll take it. And then the next day, the three words hit me: resilience, self-love, and confidence. And I'm like, oh, I got it. I can tell my story through my apparel. Flawless, because I struggle with my flaws all my life, struggle with self-love. I struggle with my birthmark. I just recently worn a swimsuit for the very first time in my whole life without a cover up
Wow.
or a tank top. I just wore a tank top because I hid behind my birthmark all my life. And it's a darker pigmentation on my arm, neck, back. But I hid, right? And just think, what if my mom would have embraced that when I was younger? Just the what ifs, right? What if she
Right.
said, girl, go in there and take that jacket off. It's 102 degrees and you got a jacket on, right? What if? So fast forward, Flawless is my brand name. Flawless Fashion Co. is my apparel. So I started out by telling my story through my apparel, right? And once again, these fears, right? Public speaking. I'm like, oh, I don't have to speak. I just let my t-shirts tell my story. I am Gucci. I'm good. So some years, 2 years later, God said, no, ma'am, that's not what I called you to do. Yeah, you can tell your story through your apparel, but I need you to do what I call you to do. And that's life coaching, right? So then I began to coach. I began to do all the things. And for me, I feel like I finally found my passion and calling after all these years. I found it because I feel so good about it. I feel so good about helping others. And hence, that's why I joined the military to help others. That's why I became a nurse to help others. And that's why I'm doing coaching. That gives me 100% satisfaction. Is kind of like you, Jen, is helping others. That's it. That's what life is about, right? We get what we give, right? So yeah.
But that's amazing. So like when you had this ability to start this apparel company, and not only is it a reminder for everyone else that reads this apparel, it's a reminder for yourself, right? Like you said, it's why I started my clothing company. I started an inspirational apparel line. So when I looked in the mirror, I could
Yeah.
read what those things said. It was for nobody else other than myself. It was completely selfish. But then when I realized that when other people put this on, they felt what I felt. And
Yes.
so organically you start this movement of, okay, this is just like the little tiny, like, tip of the iceberg, where you're just starting to say, all right, I'm starting to make these small changes. You did it as a nurse, but it wasn't as fulfilling as you needed it to be. There was like a step further, right? Because like as a nurse, you treat your patient and then chances are you never see them again because you don't want to see them again. But you want to follow their journey. You want to follow the things that they're doing. You want to be there to nurture, because like myself, I always sought for validation. It wasn't until I found it in myself that I was like, oh, that's where it comes from. But we seek it from other people, right? So now if you have it on your shirt, you're like, damn right, I'm flawless and I'm confident and I'm beautiful and I am all of these things, that we
Yes.
slowly start to believe it. And when our confidence changes,
Mhm.
you change, we change. And now that elevated you to the next level. And it got
Right.
got you into this transformational coaching business. Now, did you have a coach at all when you started this journey? Did you have anyone that kind of inspired you to continue down that path?
Yes, I had several coaches, including a business coach, but I had several mentors that helped me along this path, life coaches, and it was key. I mean, you can go to all the therapists, and therapy is good, right? We need therapy along with the coach. You can pair it together and be good, but you need to have that person that has been there, done that, to walk with you, literally hold your hand through whatever it is you're going through, right? And that's key. That's so key. And like what my apparel flawless, right? When you think of the word flawless, or when society think of the word flawless, we always think of the J Lo's, the Beyonce, the Celine Dion's, all this something aesthetically beautiful, right? But
Right.
it's not about that. My flawless is loving yourself, being true to yourself, walking in with confidence and walking in your purpose and in your truth. That's my definition of flawless.
And I love that, because all of us have like these flaws and all of these different things, but we're all, I always say, like, perfectly imperfect. That there's so many, like, we all have all of these different things, but that's what makes us so perfect. That's what
And
makes
then
us
two,
beautiful.
who are you or who am I to say what's imperfect, right?
Right.
Everything is perfect, right? Everything, so yeah, we're flawless. We are, we love our flaws are our unique superpowers, right?
Absolutely. And it's definitely a superpower. And so we are at the end of our first segment. We talked about a lot of things when it comes to your journey and transformation and how you got to where you are. And when we come back from the commercial, we are going to dive a little bit further into the journey and how you're able to help other women actually elevate and become their find themselves and who they are. So I am Jen Potter, host of Networking Now, and we'll be right back.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now. Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Welcome back. I'm Jen Potter, host of Networking Now, and I am joined with Tamika Jones, who is a transformational life coach. And we were talking about her journey before we broke to commercial and how she went from being in the Air Force to being a nurse to being a transformational life coach. So thank you so much for joining me again and being here and talking about your story, because I know it can be hard, right? We talked about sometimes it's hard being a motivational speaker and helping inspire other people, but it's your purpose, right?
Right, right. Yes, yes. And thanks again for having me, Jen. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Of course. And, when we were talking about being a life coach and, the word transformation, it's really evolving and turning into, I always look at it as becoming your best self, right? Becoming the best possible version of yourself. And I find it interesting because I think that that's one, it's a really cool title, but two, to be able to be that person to hold somebody's hand as they're walking through that journey, I think is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
'Cause I'm always inspired by people who are making big changes in their lives to become happy every day. And so, through your own journey, through therapists, through coaches and business coaches, you found this niche. And, to get to where you are, what was it about becoming a transformational life coach that was like, this is what I'm supposed to do?
I think for me, like I said, it just hit me, right? And like I said, everything service, right? Military, I served as a nurse, I served, and coaching, of course, I'm going to serve. But I think it just hit me. And when it hit me, I knew it because I felt it. It was a feeling that surpasses all understanding. It was a feeling that I can't explain. It was a gut feeling like, hey, Tamika, this is it. And even though, the whole fear of all the things, the public speaking and all that, I'm here, right? And it has to be my passion. I'm here and I'm doing it. Um, and just being able to help women and share my story and help them overcome some of the things that I've overcame. And a lot of times we go through things, we don't understand the whys behind it, and it's not up for us to understand it. It's just up to us to go through it, and get through it. And I'm learning now, Jen, so whenever I do hit contrast or anything negative that goes on in my life, I stop and I sit still and I ask myself two questions. The why am I going through it? And then the lesson learned. What lesson do I supposed to learn in this? And I sit still and I sit with God and he'll come through every time. And he will show me the lesson learned and also my whys, right? So that's what I've adopted over these couple years doing my transformation. in my journey. So, and I share this with women as well, right?
Yeah, I love that, asking yourself those questions because it's hard for us sometimes. A lot of times we question, especially, so I think everybody at some point has had some type of trauma,
Yes.
and, everybody's trauma is completely different. And what's big to me and big to you are two completely different bigs, but they're both big. And, I think when we go through it, it's always why me? Why is this
Mhm.
happening to me? And but I like what you said, not just why, but what is the lesson? And for me, like I do the same thing. Like, why am I going through this? And how is it meant to change my life? How is it's going to change the trajectory of the things that we're going through? And especially when we're going through growth, it is painful. And sometimes you got to go through some like really hard steps to get there. But like once you go through it, you're like, oh, that's why I did it. And it's
Yes.
beautiful when you kind of go through it, right? Because I think growth can be painful, and sometimes we're really scared to go through it. And I think being a transformational life coach, there are people that are going through things that really need your guidance, that really need your story. Like we've gone through a lot, but I also think that's because we were guided to help other people go through their stuff as well, right?
Mm,
Like
right.
I think I said it when we weren't recording, like you're that person that holds that person's hand, that you're able to say, I am here when you're going through these things. And so when someone, if they're looking for a coach, what would make them say, this is the type of coaching that I need?
For me, flawless life coaching is a holistic. It's my holistic coaching. Not only do I give the life components of it, but I also have apparel, which is motivational and inspirational. And I also have a travel agency. So, we as women, we're so busy, right? We're so busy. So why not take that vacation to Aruba and just relax? We're always busy hustling and bustling. So I offer travel as well. Retreats, church getaways, whatever it is that you need to find your zen, I offer that as well. So those three things, I feel that I can offer women through my coaching program. But flawless life coaching, I empower women to exude confidence, self-love, and resilience, and also just own who they are, and by being the best version of themselves. So the three pillars that we talked about initially: self-love, resilience, and confidence, but also mindset, right? Mindset has to be in the forefront, because if you don't have the ability to change your mindset, all that means nothing. So it starts with mindset.
I love that. And I love that it's all of these things combined that really got you to where you are and to make those transformations. And, you threw out, and I knew this going into this, but, it was one of those things that I didn't even think about, the travel side of it, right? I love to travel. And for me, it's my breakaway. It's how I've done a lot of my personal growth. I've traveled on my own, and being by myself and experiencing things on my own to see what I like and what I don't like without the influence of other people. But I think you looked at my vision board for this year, um, because out of all places, and I wrote this down, she said Aruba. Um,
Wow.
and we were talking both on air and off air. I'm like, we're supposed to be connected. We're going to be friends. You just don't know it yet. And you're like,
Right.
it's crazy. But see, we're totally connected because I
Yes.
literally have a sign that says Aruba on my vision board.
Wow. That's
So,
amazing. Amazing.
we're meant to connect in so many ways. But, in all seriousness, like all of those things are so important. And we're always looking for someone that we can connect with. and and you have this beautiful story, and you have this way about you that from the second we started talking, I'm like, I just want to talk to you. And I love that about you, because you're an open book right out the gate. You're like, I'm nervous about this is what I'm doing. And you just start telling all the things. It's just like me, right? And so that's, I love it. And you know you have all of these things going on. And one of the things that we talked about, and I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about this. You asked yourself at the beginning of the show, who am I? This woman that you sat with, to figure out where you were on this journey, and she asked you who you were, and you asked yourself, and you didn't know the answer to that question, and you took time to figure out who you were to be the best version of yourself,
Yes.
that you even started creating workshops. And so you have a workshop coming up. Do you want to tell me a little bit about the workshop?
Yes, the workshop is Who Are You workshop, and it is September the 21st and the 22nd. And it's basically a group workshop. We're going to do activities, group discussions, and we just deep diving into who are we to our core. Who are we without all the accolades and the titles and the roles? And I'm a mother, I'm a nurse, I'm an officer, I'm a military member, I'm a veteran, I'm all that's good, but who are you to the core? And I can finally answer that, Jen. I can finally answer that. Who am I? Who is Samika? I'm bold. I am beautiful. I'm whole. I am ambitious. I am worthy. I am loved. I'm confident. I'm amazing. I am a boundary setter, Jen.
Oh, you gave
Yes.
me goosebumps when you said that. I got all
Yes.
the goosebumps. I told you I was connecting you with somebody, and the two words right out the gate, I'm like, the universe just confirmed you're supposed to be friends with her. Uh,
Yes.
we're supposed to be friends. No, but that's beautiful. Like, because we don't think about that. Because
No.
even when you asked me that question, I knew what the answer should have been, but in my head, I'm like going through the list of all the things of who I am. And so I think breaking that down to the core, and networking and connecting with other women to get to that point, because I feel like when you create these workshops too, you are creating not just this who am I, and figuring out who they are individually, but when you're doing these group workshops, you're creating friendships and bonds.
Yes.
And
And
that,
accountability partners.
yes, and that's beautiful, because that's those friendships last forever. I In some of the groups that I've done these particular workshops, these are the friends that I've kept forever around the country. And so by you creating this environment, it's absolutely amazing. And I know you're gonna, I'm gonna ask you this, and so I hope the answer is yes. Please tell me you're gonna be doing more of these workshops, because you know that I'm not available that weekend, but I really, really want to do one. So please
Yes.
keep me
I'll be
posted,
doing more workshops and I'll keep you posted as well.
because
Yes.
that's amazing. And one of the things that we didn't hit on, and I want to say it, and of course you had me right out the gate with everything else, but you are also an author and you wrote a book. And what's the name of the book? Tell me a little bit about it and how I can get it.
So, Riding the Waves to Self Confidence is a self help, like little small book, women empowerment book. But although I had two men here recently, I was at a vendor event and he picked up the book and he was like, "Oh, I want this." I'm like, sir, it's women empowerment. He was like, "Women teach men everything that we know. So I want this. And then I'll let my wife read it later." I'm like, okay. Okay. So yeah, it's just a deep dive into learning who you are once again and being more confident and riding the waves. Riding the waves is life, riding those waves of life, and being confident while riding the waves of life. So it gives like pearls of wisdom and talks about the sister tribe and accountability partners and just all things confident. And you can find it on Amazon. So it is on Amazon and it's also on my website as well. But it's Riding the Waves to Self Confidence.
So speaking of websites, how does anyone reach out to you? How can they, if they're interested in learning more about you, both your books, your apparel, your workshops, all the things that you're doing? I know you're working on some of your social media stuff, but if you want to tell us how we can get a hold of you, that'd be
Okay.
amazing.
So all things flawless, right? So www.flawlesslifecoaching.com. That's my website. Also LinkedIn is Flawless Life Coaching. Facebook, social media handles are all Flawless Life Coaching as well.
I love it.
And then also my apparel website is Flawless Fashion Co. That's CO. Flawless Fashion Co.
That's awesome. So all of the things across the board. I'm so excited that you were
Yes.
on today. I can't wait to have a follow-up conversation. I know we talked about it already, that we're going to talk about all the things. So thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure and super inspirational. I hope you have an amazing day. And I am Jen Potter. I'm the host of Networking Now. Thank you so much for joining us.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.